This is the Life Reading Club, and we have been in this amazing series on mentorship. And many of the books out there on mentorship have been written either in the global north or global west. And so many of these things have cultural nuances that may make sense in one place, but not in every place. And so as we read the book Mentoring 101 by John Maxwell, one of my goals here is to, as we've read the book together, see the unique perspectives of mentees in a different context, particularly in this case in Africa. So the membership of the Reading Club spans Africa. It's global, but it spans largely Africa, some in West Africa, some in South Africa. And we've also had some members joining from East Africa as well. So it's important as we read these books that may have been written in a Western context that we think about it critically and see how it affects us, or how to adapt or to adopt those principles in a different culture. And so what I will do now today is to we're looking at chapter 5, and the title of chapter 5 is How Do I Help Them Do Better Work? Again, we're reading the book Mentoring 101 by John C. Maxwell. And one of the key things in this chapter is to equip these mentees for excellence. Many cultures in Africa and also in Asia are collective cultures. They're not very individualistic, and so it's important to look at things from different perspectives. So in this case, let's look at what it means. What the book talks about excellence, equipping for excellence. First, it says, share your dream. And then it says, ask for commitment. So the premise here is it's a formal job setting or a formal mentorship setting, likely a dyadic one-to-one mentorship. And it says, share your dream and ask for commitment. So in this case, the dream is coming from the mentor, and the mentee who is motivated to be like the mentor, who sees the mentor as a role model, either catches or doesn't catch the dream. And you ask for commitment, meaning not only have I shared my dream with you, you should be committed, So ask for commitment. That's what John Maxwell said. He said, to determine whether your people are committed, first you must make sure that they know what it will cost them to become leaders. Okay? All right. The next thing is, set goals for growth. And those goals must be attainable, they must be measurable, they must also be written. Now, this is so critical, particularly the written part. They must be measurable, they must be attainable. So one of the things, particularly in an intercultural mentorship, that can happen is your mentor is in a different culture, a different context from you. Guess what? You then project, because you have the power as the mentor, you project your own, I want to call it your liberties, your affordances, the things you have. Maybe you have steady power. Maybe you have free access to internet. You project those on them. And so you actually may be setting on realistic goals, okay, for them, or at least goals that have so many more barriers that you don't relate with. The next is that you train them. And the 5 steps to training: you model, you mentor. So to model means you show the mentee observes you, and then you mentor. You let the mentee do some parts of it while you show them how to do the thing, and then you monitor. So you, as the mentee is doing it, you are monitoring their progress. Okay, and as you monitor their progress, at times, you exchange places, you let them do the thing and you assist and you correct. That's what the book calls monitoring. And then you will motivate, meaning that in this case, you take yourself out of the task and you let the trainee go. And your task is to make sure that he can do it without you being present. And once he is successful at this point, until when the mentee senses success, you will then encourage him to do it and begin to get more confidence doing it. Okay, so that's the you motivate the person, and finally you empower the person to multiply. That is to go and train somebody else, and so that's the process of training. Okay, and so again, notice here that there's the assumption that the mentor is an expert in an area, and there's a series of well-defined tasks. That may not always be the case, particularly if you're working interculturally, particularly when there is a lot of uncertainty, especially when that happens in the side of the mentee. The next thing is give the big three. Responsibility. Let's do the responsibility be clear. Jesus told Peter 3 times, feed my sheep, feed my lambs, feed my sheep. Meaning that's the responsibility. But responsibility without authority it could be setting someone up for failure. And so this is a quote from the book by Winston Churchill. It says, while addressing the House of Commons during the Second World War, Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister in England, he said, I am your servant. You have the right to dismiss me when you please. What you have no right to do is to ask me to bear responsibility without the power of action, that is authority. And in addition to authority, you must give them accountability. And accountability means that they are not just able to do things, but they are accountable to you. And accountability could be group accountability, it could be one-on-one accountability, it could be writing formal reports, it could be different things, but there must be a system of feedback to debrief what the mentee has done. And finally, periodic equipping meetings. So it could be trainings, it could be exposure, it could be practical experiences that can ultimately equip the mentee and the mentor for success in that relationship. So these are the responsibilities of a mentor. Now, for the mentee, we ask the questions. We discussed these books and we asked questions and also listen to the questions that potential mentees may have. Okay, so notice these books are written from the perspective of a mentor. Now, how does a mentee see the same set of ideas? And we also rearranged the order based on what the mentees were asking about. Okay, first, in the mentees' priority is the training. So training was number 3 in the list from the chapter in the book. But training is important. And under training, one of the themes that came up repeatedly is motivating and modeling. So under training for in the book, there's model, mentor, monitor, motivate, and multiply. But the one that is most important to the mentees is the motivating. Why? Oftentimes, particularly in some parts of the world where resources might be scarce, where there are a lot of challenges in the environment, there's a lot of potential mentees tend to get a lot of negative feedback. Because there's a lot of competition for opportunities, many graduates don't have jobs, so they take on menial jobs. They get treated with disrespect very often. If that's where they're coming from, motivating them by giving them regular feedback, by giving them, encouraging them, speaking words that build them up, not put them down because of maybe their mistakes or their lack of training in one area, is actually more productive at the end of the day. Next is, model the behaviors you want. Don't assume that they know. Don't assume that they will just catch on. What you know in one culture is not the same in another culture. And so even particularly in the area of faith. If there's faith involved, denominational lines as well as cultural practices in faith, the songs you sing, how you pray, all of those things differ. So it's important that you model exactly what you want your mentees to take up. Next is set goals. I want to put that the goals may be written first, and it should be measurable. Yes, it should also be attainable, but the written part becomes important, because there are several areas in the life of a mentee, in life of a mentor, that the mentee can benefit from. And to put everything in this mentor relationship might be quite overwhelming for the mentor and also for the mentee, because now you're chasing 10 different things at the same time. So it's important to let what you're seeking mentorship for be very clear. And once that is clear, write exactly what you hope to achieve and it is measurable. I will read one book with you over 2 weeks or 2 months, and I will do 1 or 2 or 3 things, and let it be very clear. The other benefit of having it written is, it's not uncommon for goals to change, but at least you know where you're changing from, and you know that you're not going 180 degrees in the opposite direction. Next is give the big 3. So this is important. Now, again, in the global West or in the global North or in one particular setting, some things are easily accessible, available, but it might not be the same in another place, in another culture. So it's important to give authority, meaning you may need to pay for the affordances you have that the mentee doesn't have, and not just expect them to slug it out and just struggle through it. The reason that is important is, as a mentor, one of your jobs is to take away some barriers. So if your job is to teach them something, let them focus their brain on learning the thing you want to teach them, not have to struggle with how to get to the place where they're going to learn it, how to get internet to watch the video, and all of those types of systemic barriers. Next is, I want to add this, in addition to authority, give the mentee a say. Don't let it just be top down. Let the mentee have a say, because it is not your job as a mentor to save this person. You must assume they have agency of their own. They have the capacity. So it is your job to empower them in areas where they are strong. And if they don't have a say, you don't even have a sense of their strengths. And so there's a tendency which is called deficit mentoring, where you keep trying to mentor people based on their deficit or their weakness. No, mentor based on their strength and their weakness. Let them figure that out, because again, they have agency, they have power, they are resourceful individuals as well. Next is share your dream, but in addition, let them also share their dream. Okay, my dream is to make you become the best in the world. Okay, well, that's your dream. What is their dream? What if they don't want to become the best in the world? What if what they want is their community to become the best in the world? Then, if you are coming from an individualistic culture, you are already causing conflict in their mind, because they don't see success as an individual thing. They see it as a collective thing. And then, of course, check in on them. Everybody needs that, and help them to anticipate problems and make sure they have series of successes. Meet with them to discuss their feelings, measure their progress, give them feedback, because feedback is crucial. You don't know whether you're doing things well, except somebody else is looking to see how they are. But let the feedback be constructive. Don't correct the individual. Correct the behavior or correct the product that they've done. And then, of course, conduct periodic equipping meetings. Your mentees value these equipping meetings. You know where they can get the kinds of skills you want them to learn, and leverage those trainings, online trainings. There are a lot of massive online courses, open courses, MOOCs, There are a lot of YouTube videos that teach specific things, and Udemy. There's so many of these platforms. You, as the mentor who knows those things, recommend those things to them and follow up and check with them that they are doing those things. Okay, and so these are some thoughts. And finally, here, some of the comments from the mentors and some of the qualities that they desire to see in you. One person said, initials SK, she's female, she's from Zimbabwe. She said, a deacon in my town was consistent and committed, no matter the turnout, in this case in a church, in a new community. And so that is what a mentor should be, consistent and show integrity. Okay? And so it's not just, oftentimes we demand integrity down because we are the ones in the place of position of power. The mentor says, oh, you should show integrity, you should be honest with me. Same thing, you have an obligation to be honest and show integrity with your mentees. Next is another person said, CA, she's female, she's from Nigeria. As a mentor, you should also have the spirit of patience. As a mentor, you must be resilient. That is, you don't give up too easily on your mentees, especially those who fail to yield to their mentors. So this is interesting because, so patience, of course. Now, because you're in a position of power, that is the mentor, it's easy to really abuse your mentee. By that I mean, it's easy to say, well, you must meet up with this criteria, or just, that's it. I will no longer sponsor you, I will no longer support you. And so you put the mentee under pressure to perform to please you. Well, that may get things done in the short term, but what if the mentee has the boldness to disagree with some of the things you're saying? That boldness is not irresponsibility. That boldness should not be said, oh, you don't even appreciate, you're not even grateful, you are gone, I will go and pick somebody else. That is actually a trait of leadership. It's a trait of strong conviction. Okay, if the mentee is bold enough to say, no, I disagree, I don't want to do it that way. Or no, that's not my vision, this is my vision. As a mentor, that is an excellent mentee. So you have to be patient with such to let them know, to understand what motivates them and what they are trying to achieve, and see how you can enable them to achieve that. Another mentee said, a pastor that I sought to mentor me, he was so harsh and demeaning. He spoke to me anyhow. Again, that's very common because people in places of power, it's like a chief versus subject type relationship that is prevalent in some African cultures. They expect that, because you look up to them so much, they're almost like a chief, like a demigod, and so they require absolute obeisance. Now, and so they feel they can talk to you anyhow. No. Speak to them like you will speak with anybody across the globe, across the world, with respect, with honor, and with dignity. And the same person said, at work, my superiors never commend my work, even when I go the extra mile. But wait until I make a mistake, and essentially they come down on him really hard. They criticize him. As a mentor, learn to give constructive feedback frequently. Don't wait until the end product. This is, in education, they call this formative assessment. Be assessing them with smaller tasks, smaller tasks, so they can be encouraged to keep going and building and building and building. This, for many of these young people, is better. It helps boost their self-confidence and their morale. Don't wait until the final, high-stake end product before you now give them feedback, because at that point the product is very high stakes. There's a lot at stake, and so it's important to give small formative feedback, many of those over a long time, than to give one big summative feedback, like a big final exam or a big professional exam. That it makes you emotionally charged. It makes the mentee emotionally charged. Eventually, you will end up, they will end up not doing their best work, and it affects their mental health as well. And finally, this is something from the book, motivation, formative assessments, and give unconditional positive regard. That is, whatever they say, however bad the product, do not disrespect them, particularly publicly, because of what they have done. We tend to say, oh, if I chastise them publicly, everybody else will learn that I'm a tough boss, or I hold on to high standards. That is good, but you are making people who fear you and do work out of fear, not out of passion or purpose or mission.